Hi, my name's Rachel McLeod, and I am a licensed clinical social worker and emotional wellness coach. And today I'm going to be talking about compulsions and how to get rid of them, most importantly. And so I'm excited to talk about this today because people have lots of compulsions. It's just a function that our brains do. And sometimes there are so many symptoms of anxiety, depression, and traumatic stress that actually fall under the compulsion category, but we don't really talk about them. And some of them are mental compulsions. Um, and some of them are behavioral ones, like where you have to wash your hands, right? Or you have to make sure you lock the door 3 times, and you make sure you have, to turn the stove off. And those ones are traditional ones, and those fall under the obsessive compulsive disorder. But there are tons of compulsions, and um, and so you kind of get good at spotting them after working with so many people. And as a matter of fact, I would say I don't think there's been anybody that I've worked with that we haven't found compulsions at some point or another, because it's just how the brain functions. Um, so I'm going to talk about a couple of those, and what's going on here, and then how I resolve this, and how I get the brain to help get it past that and stop making you live under compulsion. And the big thing to understand about compulsions is that they are a function of your survival center. Your survival center will compel you to do things that it says you need to do in order to survive. And so you don't get choices in that part of the brain. Once that part of the brain is activated and is in charge, your choices go away. And so do your values and your morals and your problem solving ability. And you start running on your survival programs. And compulsions are one of those. Um, so that's what you really need to understand here in that. And so it's like when you see people doing behavioral compulsions, understand that they're really working from the survival part of the brain when they're doing that it is not logical, and they really don't have a lot of choices and options there. If you resist your survival system ups its game to force you to complete the compulsion. And so that is can be really, really painful. It can make you feel like you're suffocating, like your heart's going to burst out of your chest, like you're going to throw up, like your mind is going to race, race, race until it just pops out of your head and flies off to another country. I mean, your survival system has a hold of all of your nervous system, and so if it wants to choke you out until you do the compulsion, it will. It will get you to comply. And there is not a bigger foe than the one inside of you that who can really cause a lot of pain. And so when people are doing compulsions, they are working with their survival system because they have been trained repeatedly to do it or else. And sometimes the information of being told to do it and doing it gets shorter and shorter and shorter, because the brain gets smarter and smarter, right? It says, you just learn, go do that compulsion. And if you say, no, I don't want to, it says, do that compulsion. And maybe it presses on your throat and starts choking. And so you're like, I'm not going to do it. And then it presses it again and it gets tighter. And it goes, I'm not. And then next thing you will, and then your heart starts racing, and you're, I'm not, and yes, and then you're going to. And so you do that. But the brain is smart, and you're like, I didn't win the last time, so maybe I'll just do it again. I'll just do the compulsion. And so it starts again. And so pretty soon, you just get faster and faster. And then you'll go through moments where you're just like, I'm sick of it. I'm not doing that. And then now you're not doing it. And then it ups it again. And so that will only last for as long as you can hold out against your survival system. I don't like to work against that part of the brain because it is painful and it's hard to win that battle. Plus, it's clever, and it will get more and more and more creative to get you to do the compulsions. I don't like that. I don't like any behavioral work with compulsions. I'm not going to make any clients go against their compulsions. I want to get the survival system to stop the compulsion, stop the whole compulsion process. That's really what that's what I'm in this for. That's what my strategy is. And I'll outline that for you. But I don't want somebody going against their survival system. I don't want their survival system to think that it's got to learn that it needs to start choking you out and trying to suffocate you, or making your stomach feel like it's going to burst or squeeze out. And who knows what, but it really, it uses your body to make the compulsions happen. And that's how it keeps you alive. I love the survival system. And it's one of the parts of the brain you really want to be good friends with and you want to know how to work well with, because if you don't, nobody's happy. If your survival system is not getting what it wants, you are not getting what you want, and you will have to drag it around with you, and it will eventually find a way to hack the whole system and get you to do whatever compulsion that is. And these are some common compulsions I see. So we've got the hand washing, we've got the checking, we've got compulsions for coping. Once the survival system gets overheated, it needs to calm down. It will send you on compulsions to calm it down. And it's like, if you don't do the compulsion, we can't calm down, therefore we will not survive. And we're not going for that. So compulsions can be things like emotional eating, that you get upset, now you have to go eat. That's a function of this part of the brain. And when you stop trying to do that, you'll notice that it gets worse. Smoking cigarettes, using drugs, all the coping styles there, right? Meditating can be compulsive. Like any of these good things we're doing can become compulsive. Um, uh, let's see. So those are some strategies. Sleeping, compulsive sleeping, there is such a thing where you just are compelled to sleep. That's a survival state. I'm going to talk about that in a second. um, a very common one with people with generalized anxiety disorder is reassurance, seeking excessive reassurance. And they just have to, can you just tell me this is okay? Can you just tell me that I'm gonna be okay? Can you just check and see and make sure that um, everything's running well, do you still love me? Those are compulsions, because the typically people like, I don't want to ask, but I have to. And so when that is being said, you know that that is a compulsion, that they're actually under the influence of their survival system, or you are under the influence of your survival system, and you have to ask, or else there will be harsh punishment from your survival system. And understand that it's not a punishing system. It's just, that's how it works. And so we got to work with it, because it is what keeps you alive. It's what has kept humanity alive for a really long time. If you didn't have this survival system, you would be going up to lions and tigers and bear and saying, hi, kitty, kitty, and being eaten, and your DNA would be erased. So this is a function, and it's something that can be worked with very, very well and quickly when you start working with it, with your survival system, in the way that it actually cares about. But let's stay on target here. Okay, any behaviors that fall under fight, flight, freeze, faint, fawn, those are all compulsions. When some people are arguing and fighting under compulsion, they're yelling because they're under compulsion, not even necessarily that they feel like yelling. They're just they have to. If they don't yell, they will start feeling it in their body. And that connection between the compulsion and the being told to go do that by your brain, and it doesn't say go do that. It tells you stories. It gives you impulses. That's how it communicates. It gets faster and faster, so people don't even realize that they're under compulsion. They think that, oh my gosh, I am a fighter. I'm fighting people. Something's wrong with me. I keep arguing with people. No, you're under the influence of your survival system and you're being compelled to fight. You don't get a choice. Then you've got freeze, where you just, somebody asks you a question and you're like, or I mean, that's one of the many ways freeze can, but you're compelled to say nothing. You're under the compulsion of your body. And so, and your survival system. Flight, right? Where you just find that you are running in the opposite direction of whatever it is. Maybe there's an argument and you're out. Maybe, I mean, you're not like, I want to leave, right? No, you feel like I want to leave right now, but it's not, you may understand that it's not the thing to do, but all of a sudden you're out. You just got to go. And you don't know exactly why, but I got to go. And that is, you're under the compulsion of your survival system. And so it's making you do that. You don't really get a choice. And so, faint, the body can put people straight to sleep. I have watched that happen on a couple occasions, and um, the therapist in me was like, "Wow, look at that. That's amazing." The person in me, the friend to the person, was like, "Don't let them get you. They're putting you to sleep." You know, but and they would go right to sleep every time if they would talk about a specific subject. Their brain, the survival strategy that survival system said was, "You need to go to sleep now. Good night." And so, and because it's attached to the nervous system, you go to sleep, or you faint, or any of those other stuff that the brain does to keep you alive. Um, and then there's fawning. And I think fawning gets a special category because I think more people do it than not. And this is when, especially in conflicts where your brain is interpreting a conflict as dangerous, and brains do this, um, that you would start to appease people, or flatter them or compliment them compulsively, or start telling jokes, and you're like, why am I doing this? And it's because you're under the compulsion of the survival system, and because it interpreted something in the environment as dangerous, and it said go. And so next thing you know, you're doing all the things and to survive. And then you're done and you're like, why did I say all that stuff? Oh my gosh, how passive and how appeasing was I? Those are all compulsions. And so if you can understand that, that is helpful. Okay. Then another thing that is a compulsion is avoiding, and it's kind of like flight, right? So this is avoiding can happen with avoiding things that could be upsetting, conflict, um, and procrastination falls in this. That is a survival system. You're not procrastinating because you're lazy. You're not procrastinating because you're bad or inherently evil of any kind. It is because your survival system said no, and you go that way and go get distracted and go do this, go do that. I mean, that thing that we're avoiding is dangerous. Do not do it. And so procrastination is a survival strategy, and it's a compulsion. And so that's why this is so important to resolve this at the compulsion level, because we want to move you from the part of the brain where you don't get choices and options to the part of the brain where you get to choose how you're going to behave. And when we can give this part what it wants, then it allows everything to move up, and it releases its control, and it will let you use this part of the brain to make decisions, live your life, handle business, and do the things that you want to do. Um, and so that's what's happening there. And so and what's important to understand is that, like I said in the beginning, this happens to anybody and everybody. This is how brain works. It doesn't matter if you are mega successful or if you're not so, anywhere in between. Everybody has a compulsion of some sort. And I'm throwing that out there. I could be wrong. I have not connected with the Buddhas and like peaceful gurus. Maybe they have resolved all of theirs. If you know them, you know, send me some links. But and if I figure this out, I will absolutely send you some links. Okay, so we'll do that. But it's really, it can show up anywhere, really. So this is how I deal with this. And because the number one issue here is that because it's a survival response, I am looking for survival level distress. That's what I'm hunting for. I'm and so because when and you- I thought this out, but I see that I did not see how I was going to get from there to here. Okay. Um, So when survival level distress is going on, because you go into a survival state, and usually it's fight, flight, freeze, or faint. You might have different, and you can also know that you're in that survival part of the brain when you're just feeling emotions. You don't even necessarily have words for them, but you're just feeling them. So if you're going over there, then this part of your brain gets shut down and everything's writing. Those are massive clues that any behaviors in there are going to be um, compulsions that you just have to do them to survive. Your brain thinks so. In that situation, and I'm going to show you, get a little bit more specific. I'm looking for survival level distress. Now, I want you to also understand there are four parts of you that I'm really tuning into here, and that is your conscious mind, your subconscious mind, your body, the somatic level of this, and your survival system. So all four of these parts play a role because somebody is sending messages to your survival system that there is a problem. And it might just be a survival program that's already in there, which kind of to me falls under the subconscious area anyway. But somebody's got a problem, and it's coming out as the survival response. Okay, so that's what I want to know. I want to know who's got a problem with this issue. The second thing I want to do is I want to identify the survival response. Okay, binging going on. I want to identify the compulsion, right? I'm going to look for it. What is it? What is the compulsion? Where is it coming from? What's happening? Why is it here? I want to know everything about the compulsion. And sometimes when this comes out when I'm working with people, because I will notice a compulsion before they do, because a lot of times it's your world, right? It's just normal. But then it's like when somebody else is looking at it, it's like it's very obvious that this doesn't match who you are, but you're doing it anyway. And that is definitely the sign of a compulsion. And so sometimes these are things that I'm pointing out for people and that I'm saying, what's going on with that? Let's look and see what's going on there. And sometimes this is something that somebody already notices about themselves. And so, and regardless of when this compulsion comes out, it goes onto the map and we begin tracking it and we begin resolving it. Um, and so so that's what I want to know. So I have a lot of questions that are designed to pull out information from all four parts of somebody. And because we need these parts to tell us what they know, and they will. And what's cool is they already are trying to tell you all the time. But a lot of people don't understand their communication, and so this communication gets dismissed, or it's seen as an attack, or it hurts, or it is somehow it's wiped out and put to the back outside of the awareness. But these parts of the body are constantly trying to bring them into your awareness so that because that's the part of the brain that actually can resolve problems. That's the part of the brain that is like the dumpster, right? I mean, that's where you could take it to the garbage, dump it out. And so it really, so this stuff is trying to come into your awareness all the time. But if you've gone 20, 30, 40 years of not recognizing it, you're going to really have a hard time seeing this stuff. And it might be, and that's one of the things that I am doing when I'm working with people is helping them see that stuff again and not just be desensitized to it, because it's actually the information they're looking for that they may not have recognized as key information your body is sending you to resolve these issues that are showing up in your life. And so these four areas, I really like to invite them to participate, and I have a lot of questions that bring up information from your subconscious, from your body, from your survival system, and from your conscious mind. And so so I teach people how to do this, and I was thinking about it, and I'm not certain how to teach that yet here, because I do it. I have a different process in actual function in go time. So I will see what I can do with that in the future. But you will also know that I like to teach people to use four tools: emotional freedom techniques, thought field therapy, EMDR, eye movement desensitization and reprocessing, and energy medicine. Those are the four tools I use because these four tools really work with the survival system of the brain. Like, it cares about them, it's listening to them. We could use talk therapy strategies, but that part engages the front part of the brain, and the survival system doesn't get engaged, and it doesn't care. And so you can talk about the stuff till the cows come home, and it doesn't budge, because the key to budging and eliminating symptoms is by getting the survival system to agree to join the healing party and let the healing happen. And talking about stuff does not do that. And so it doesn't do it at the speed I would like, and it's not direct. And so I don't like that. You can do that if you want to. But I like to get people out of pain very quickly and get them functioning very quickly. And I'm talking in 2 to 6 months, even with disorders that they've had for decades. And and since I've accomplished that successfully with these four tools, I'm kind of a tool has to work very hard to get up in there. So I got a couple more on my radar that I'm going to be looking at, but talk therapy is not one of them, and it has to reprove itself, and so far it's not doing that. So I do like talk therapy, but not for this. I love talk therapy, but not for this. Um, Not for brain function. So um, that having said that, where was I? Okay, so these four tools work specifically to engage the survival system and then also bring your whole brain together to solve problems. And because we are looking for the whole brain, somebody's got issues with this, otherwise there would not be a compulsion in the first place. We need everybody to come to the table and tell us what they know. And so that's what we're going to be doing. And we use the tools and the questions to pull that information out. And as that stuff comes out, you guys know that when there's a compulsion, right? There's a root cause right here, and then time the survival system starts building all this stuff around it, like survival strategies, and so it grows, and this is it just it's like a, I don't know, like a shell, right? But it's protective. This whole thing grows around it, but it really crystallizes what's not healthy, and there's can be a lot of stuck emotion in there. And so as you start to pull this thing out, and that's what I like to do, I like to work from the outside in, because it makes everything less painful, and pain is what triggers your survival system. And so the more, if we just go in here and you're like, oh my gosh, your survival system's going to come on, shut the whole thing up, and you may never come back to therapy ever again, because your survival system is engaged. And now your survival system has learned, hey, that therapy stuff's dangerous and we're not going back. See how you like that? So no, I like to work my way in because it's fast. It only takes however long it takes, 20 minutes, an hour. If it's really complex because you've got like five situations in there and there's something all the way around it, okay, maybe we're talking a week. But so what? At least we get the stuff resolved, and we still get to do this work. Your survival system doesn't kick us out. But while we are taking this stuff, we're using tools. We're starting to ask questions about this stuff out here, and we're using the tools to help pull it through the brain's healing process. The brain has its own healing process that we're going to take parts of this problem right here. We're going to take parts and we're going to pull it through the healing process. The brain, if it could have done the process itself, it would have already. And this process is there and it's ready to use, but sometimes because of trauma, because of emotional distress, because of so many reasons, the brain can't make it through its own process. So we are going to help it take this one compulsion problem, and we're going to pull it all the way through the healing process. We're going to manually walk it. Now, as you keep doing this work, your brain will remember how to do its own process itself, which is how one of the ways we restore healthy brain function. We restore this process. Get this process running like it's supposed to be running, outside of your awareness, without your help. That's what it's supposed to be doing. Or it's supposed to be telling you to get help, which it does, and you listen and you do it. But that's for another time. But we're going to work on this, and as we ask the questions, your body might say, it might start communicating with us. Maybe you start feeling tension in your chest, and we're going to move that. We're going to use an intervention with that. And as that resolves, but your survival system, your subconscious mind might tell you, oh, I remember when that happened, or this and that and this and that, right? So all parts of you are starting to talk about this sensation in your chest, why that's there, what it means. And we're going to take all of that and pull it through the healing pathways, and we're going to keep doing that. And then as we get closer, maybe we're going to find some defensive strategies. Maybe you're going to start getting angry, or you're going to be like, I don't want to talk about this anymore. Good. We're going to just leave that there, and we're going to just use an intervention on, you don't want to talk about this anymore, which is totally awesome. Tell me more about that. And we're using an intervention. And then that will clear out of the way. And pretty soon we'll be close, close, close. And this is where we get to ask all the questions to learn all the things that we can gather about this thing from all four parts of you. And from the general, which is outside, it's kind of like this whole problem as a whole. But our goal is to get all the way to the specific, because the transformation happens at the specific level. And that's why we need to know the nitty gritty in here, but we don't need to know from this part of the brain. No, your brain just needs to know. So anyway, there's lots of tricks to this, and I cannot spell them all out because they are so multiple, but this is the process. Okay. Um, and there's no right way to do this, and people, you can invent things all the time once you kind of get the rules of things, but um, the rules of the brain function. Okay, because you can't ask your brain to do stuff it can't do, right? I mean, you can't ask a fish to climb a tree. It cannot do that. And you can't ask an elephant to climb a tree because it can't do that. But you know what? If you ask an elephant to move some water from one place to another, I mean, you got a rock star player. And that's really what we want to do with the brain. We want to use its function well. And so as you learn how your brain functions, then you can use that to create massive amounts of healing and incredible transformation and health and wellness and just awesome stuff. Okay, that's the fun part. But okay, so here we go. We're getting close to this compulsion. Now let's say we're right in here. And let's say let's say this what we're looking in here is what's so dangerous about this, about what's in here. And let's take this let's take hand washing, for instance, this compulsion. And once we're in here, we've resolved a lot of issues. I don't know if they are people. I can't make those up at this point. But let's say in here we learned that if the belief is, and a lot of times their belief, the root issues here, the belief is that if you have the germs, then you'll get sick, you'll pass it on to your family, all of you will die, right? It's a catastrophe. And it's at that level where your survival system thinks it's life or death. It literally thinks it's life or death. And you can logically look at this and say it's not, but your survival system doesn't have a logical aspect to it, so it can't do that. It just says this is death. And so what we're looking at here is we want to take that fear that you're going to die and you're going to kill everyone around you through your healing pathways, right? And we want to do that because, right, what's coming up from here is survival level distress. Your heart might be racing. You might think you're actually going to die. And you might watch this whole process from your conscious mind and be like, this is absolute crazy. I understand, but we're not trying to help that part of the brain. That part of the brain does not have a problem here. We're trying to help your survival system, which thinks you're actually going to die, okay? And we're not going to argue with that part of the brain. You've done that enough. I know you have. If you have, anyway. So we're just going to watch this. We're going to say, yep, we're going to die if we do all of this stuff. And you're going to use an intervention. And you're going to take out the distress that's in your heart racing. And because you're going to help your survival system you're going to turn the whole brain onto this problem. Your survival system is going to look at this. It doesn't really care. It's like, yeah, I know. We're going to die. Prepare for death. Prepare to grieve and do all this horrible stuff. Your sort of subconscious mind's going to look at that and it's just going to be like, this is wild. Your conscious mind's going to be like, this is crazy. And your body is going to be pulled. And all of the emotion that is evoked by that thing is going to get the opportunity to come up and through the healing pathways, especially because you're not going to block it by arguing with your brain. Do not argue with your brain. It's like arguing with a 2-year-old. It's not the thing to be doing. And so as you find that compulsion right there, right? All those fears, then as all the emotion is out of here, now the survival system, your body isn't doing this, and your survival system isn't doing this. And so now everyone's actually just sitting here, standing here, looking at this, and the survival system is actually just standing there quietly because it's not reacting. And your conscious mind is like, this is ridiculous. Let me have this. And she gets in there and like does all this stuff with it. She says, we don't need this anymore. This is ridiculous. And then she will sit and make a new code. And when that thing is encountered next time, that survival level distress is not available. It's not there anymore. And that is the abbreviated version, but that is what happens. And so the next time, and once we get that done, then what happens, you know that that's done because the survival level of stress isn't there. You start noticing the conscious mind taking off and starting to run with new ideas. And you start noticing that people will start to kind of feel into it. Like, are you sure that's not that scary? It's not. And then it feels like this. This is what it feels like. It feels like there's kind of from the inside level, the brain starts to do this thing here. I don't know how to explain that in words yet. But it kind of comes to the top. And some people might say, well, that was kind of, I've been washing my hands all the time because of that. you know, those sorts of things. And so, but that is one level of the test that, okay, we're done for now. Now I want them to go back and try go through that exact scenario that we found. That it happens when these thoughts and it happens in that scenario. And I have them go back and do that. Now, let me tell you right now that if I give them that homework and I say, okay, Billy, I want you to go back to that scenario and I want you to try it again. And they say, that means there's more work to do. Okay. I'm not going to have them go do that. Okay. Because their survival system just said, right? That wasn't even their conscious mind. That was their survival system talking. And I heard their survival system clearly. It said, no, we'll die. Okay. So then I'm going to say, oh, excuse, what's coming up for you? And they'll tell me, I don't want to because whatever. That's their survival system telling you all the stuff. And you say, great, wonderful. And now we make a new homework assignment. And we're working through this at the next level because there's another piece to this. And we might do this for 4 or 5 times until we figure out what it is. But what's wonderful is when we resolve the root of each problem, the whole brain reorganizes. Okay. And then if there's another one, we've resolved that and we've resolved the root. And the root of one issue shows up in multiple places. And so when I get one root resolved, and maybe that's all we do in one session, clients will come back and tell me, I feel calmer. I feel like I was able to do this differently. I was able to do that. There's so much transformation that happens just by getting the root of one issue. And so I will stay on this one compulsion as long as it needs to be on until it's resolved. Now, there are other times where something else, what I'm holding, like this is the one we're working on right now, and something else will come home. I'm like, okay, hold up right here. We'll do this one and resolve this. And then we're coming right back to the compulsion because it's your time compulsion. And when people can get this freedom back, it gives them a lot of time, energy, coping, confidence, connection with their self, courage. I mean, so many things happen when you resolve one compulsion. Plus, like I said, the added benefit is it starts to unravel other issues. And that way, when you get to other things like other compulsions or other symptoms of anxiety, depression, or traumatic stress, this piece of it is already out of it, and that makes it unravel so much faster. And so if we have to do 4 or 5 times of this to get rid of this one compulsion, great. Let's do it. We're going to get this at every level of it. All the roots have to come out. And we know that they are when I can give them the homework. I say, okay, Billy, I'm going to have you go and I want you to go do that thing that triggers the hand washing thing. And they're like, yeah, I'm already on that. So that means that they're going. Their survival system said nothing. Okay. So I'm not rearranging anything. And then when they can go do the thing without the compulsion, that's when we know that is resolved. And that is awesome because we check that off their map of symptoms we need to get rid of. We check that off and it goes. And next thing we go, we pick another one and we keep going until each one of those symptoms is resolved. And that's really how we do all of that. And if there's more compulsions, right, we go after them. And by that time, people are feeling confident. They're like, oh my gosh, this works. And, and they're like, what else can we do? And the next thing you know, they're leaning forward, right? And now they want to now we're on anxiety butt kicking team, which just means that we're helping your whole brain do the work it actually wants to be doing. And so this is one piece of the process, but it's such a big, awesome piece because it's so frustrating to be doing things you don't want to be doing and not be able to have a choice. But really, when you resolve this stuff, you do get a choice finally. And so, and then you get a lot of, yeah, you get to unravel so many other issues, and which makes you so much more emotionally available and mentally available to live your life and to accomplish your dreams. Many of you have a vision for your life that includes building some like becoming a musician or an artist or a coach, or not just becoming one, but elevating and creating the vision of yourself as a coach or as a musician or as an artist or as a mom that you want to see yourself as, and that that's really where you need to be. But these symptoms are kicking your butt. this is why you got to get rid of these because you got things to do. And when you do, you really get so much more of yourself available to have the conversations you want from this part of the brain. So rebuilding your relationships, strengthening them, um, yeah, going after your dreams, living your life, doing what you want to do, and being able to feel how you want to feel without symptoms of anxiety, depression, and traumatic stress coming and taking you out and like dragging you down spirals downward or whatever, distracting you, right? This is so that you can use your whole brain for yourself and not for your symptoms. So that's how I do that. And yeah, if you want my help with that, I have two opportunities to work with me. One is a complete and comprehensive 8-week intensive. We rock through these symptoms, and this is a great fit for many people, and for others, it's not. So I also offer a 30-day less intensive, intensive. It's not that. It's not. It's less intensive, but and that is for the foundational skills, and so that way you can work at that at a little bit of a slower pace, and just really get those foundational skills solid so that you have the skill set and you start eliminating symptoms. And so that those are the two things that I offer. You can find out more about that on my website. I've included that in the link, and that's it for me. So yes, that's on my website, and details about how to work with me are on there. If you feel like I'm the one you want to work with, go there, get some information. And but for all of you, wonderful connecting with you. I hope this gives you some insight, and that you see that you do not have to stay with compulsions, and there's a way to do it that's really easy and that's not horrible. Like, you know what I really hate? What's it called? I banished it from my mind. Exposure therapy. I said it right here. And this is someone who had obsessive compulsive disorder, okay? I don't like that. I do not like um, exposure therapy, um, for the reasons I said, because it's really painful. It's horrible. You're basically telling your brain, I'm going to introduce you to death. See how you like that. No, it doesn't like that. And you're not going to like that either. And then you're supposed to breathe through it. Don't get me started, people. All right. I'm going to go. I will see you all later, and I hope this was helpful to you, and that you start looking at your compulsions differently, and start preparing for their exodus as you help your brain heal itself. Take care. Bye.